Hello and welcome, everybody here new to the channel. I am your host and the creator of this called the one and only Buddha Dragon. Uh, if you have had any kind of interest or any kind of wonderings about the wonderful card game Magic the Gathering, I am here to show you some of the ins and outs about this game. So one of the more common things people like to know is, where do I start? Well, you can start by going to something like their actual website, which is going to be Wizards of the Coast. And when you click on it, this is typically what you're going to see. You're going to see their homepage here. And you can kind of, yes, accept all the cookies. You kind of can see, like, they've got a store locator. So another big question people have is, well, where do I go to actually play some games and find a store that supports everything? This is one of the things you can use as a tool. Of course, you can use Google, just type in like a trading, Magic the Gathering trading card stores near me, and that'll pop up a lot of other stores too. A lot of your other stores that are going to be within your area, you can just click here. They always ask you to accept cookies, and as you can see, you can type in your city, your address, postal code, or even your region, and it'll tell you some of their bigger locations that are within the area. So that way you have a pretty good idea of where you can go to play Magic and buy cards and sleeves and stuff like that as you experience the game. It allows you to go and meet other people, which is what the game's about. So we'll go over here, we'll drop this down, and this is the actual Magic the Gathering homepage. So let's say you've just now you just now got interested into the game, and now you're trying to figure out how you want to play, where you want to play. Well, I say how because there's multiple what we call formats on how to play the game. At least there's 10, 12, something like that. So the formats are right here. So we can come over here to Play Magic, and as you can see, it has a nice little drop down tab. You can play in events, and it'll show you some of the bigger events that are around here with your stores and everything, such as pre-releases, which are like if a set was to come out like February, the first week of February, a pre-release allows you to go like the week before to whatever local game store is holding that event, and allows you to go and experience those playing cards before they're even out. So it's a pretty fun thing to do. You get nice little promo cards and kind of get a feel for it. You get a nice little box of, I believe it's 6 packs, and a promo card. You build a little 40 card deck or so with the cards in that set, that little box, and then you battle those people. Pretty fun. I've done it a couple times. But we'll click over here to formats, and this is what I was talking about. There are multiple different ways to play Magic the Gathering. So you have everything from Commander, Booster Draft, Standard, Pioneer, Modern, Sealed, Alchemy, Explorer, Historic, Timeless, Commander, Draft, Pauper, Brawl, Conspiracy, Two-Headed Giant, Legacy, Vintage, Plains Chase, Arch Enemy Commander, Oathbreaker, Team Booster Draft, Team Sealed, Freeform, Momir Basic, Commander 1v1, and of course there's the Ultimate of Ultimate, which is how I got into the game, which is just regular old tabletop, playing with your friends kind of games. When I started playing over 20 years ago now, we just threw some cards together, and there were 60 cards decks, and then we sat down, and we didn't care if it was just 2 or 3 of us playing or 8 or 10 of us playing. We all sat down on like this big old table. We just kind of slugged it out. And back in those days, Commander wasn't a thing, or half this stuff wasn't. Alchemy, Explorer, Historic, Timeless, like Pioneer, Modern, like none of that was a thing. So I was never a tournament grinder by any means. I just liked playing the game. So we just kind of sat down with 60 card decks, and we had 4 copies of each card in the deck, but your basic lands, and we just slugged it out. So the format that I have been playing lately is called Commander, which is the current biggest way to play Magic. And I'll get into some of this in depth, especially Commander, because that's what I'm going to focus on mainly, because Commander is just so much fun for me. We have Standard. Now Standard, as you click on these, it'll give you more in depth, but just a quick rundown. Standard is essentially one of the backbones to Magic the Gathering. That is, it is where the best of the best get to sit down and play in a tournament with real judges, real big prizes, and they qualify. As they qualify by winning, doing well, they advance, and eventually you can get to their World Series. And I mean, when you win World Series of Magic the Gathering, it's a pretty big deal. You get a pretty big pot, or at least you used to. I don't know what the pot is up to now. I know in 2006, he won with a red-blue Dragonstorm list back in those days. And if I remember right, the purse was $100,000 back in 2006. Pretty good price for playing a kid's card game, if you ask me. And he got to travel the world, because I think at that time they helped pay for the expenses, or paid for all the expenses. I'd have to do some research on that. But anyway, Standard is the place where most people will sit down and basically tournament grind decks. They are 60 card decks. One of the founding rules to Magic is it's a 60 card deck. It's you versus one person only. Until you beat them or you lose, and then you advance and fight another person until the tournament's over. Best 2 out of 3 until you get to a certain point, then it switches to 3 out of 5. I am not a standard tournament grinder, so this is just what I know about the game from a standard perspective. But they follow all the basic rules for Magic the Gathering. Like I said, it's a 60 card deck, and you always start with 4 cards in the deck, or 1, 3, or even 2. It kind of depends, but you're only allowed in Magic the Gathering to have up to 4 cards in your deck at any time, except for your basic lands. But the fun thing with Standard is it's usually pretty up and down. It can be expensive because a lot of your top, most awesome wild decks are usually pretty expensive. And I'm not talking, $30, $40. Oh no, that hurts. No. Your top of the line decks are like 500 plus most of the time. There are some cheaper ones that do very, very well. Like a classic go-to is Mono Red. Burn, those kind of decks usually aren't too expensive. They're usually still, I would say, 150 to 300 depending on some of the other key factors, but they're usually one of the safer ones you can do to get into Standard. Another big format is going to be Pioneer. Pioneer goes from the current standard legal set all the way back to a cutoff point, and you can use cards from that cutoff point, which I believe is somewhere around Ravnica. all the way up to the current standard set of cards. So it's a very, very, very large collection. And that's another thing I forgot to mention about standard. Standard is you only have a select number of sets that you can pull cards from. You're not allowed to pull cards from like the start of the game and put them into your standard deck. The only way you're allowed to do that is if it's been reprinted in like a more modern set, a more up to date set. Then yes, you can grab that old printing if that's the printing you like. But standard is typically whatever has been released throughout the year, and it usually does this thing called rotation. Now they just introduced that one of the newer sets, the Magic the Gathering Foundations, is supposed to be in this for like 3 to 5 years. So it's one of those bigger sets. It's got like 700 cards or some ridiculous number, but it's supposed to not be a rotational set. It's supposed to be here for like 3 to 5 years, like I said. But Pioneer takes standard and goes backwards in time. And I want to say it's somewhere in Ravnica that it cuts off. And then Modern is kind of the same thing. Modern is another tournament style you could play, and Modern goes farther back than Pioneer. And all three, Standard, Pioneer, and Modern, they actually have a banned and restricted list, which you can look up. Like you can, like we'll click on Modern for instance, as kind of a side thing. See, this shows you that it is a 60 card format. You do have a 15 card sideboard you can bring to kind of switch up the deck and adjust its power to fight other things, because you're never going to be 100% against everybody. There's always going to be a little bit of a weakness, and you're going to go, okay, hold on, I don't have a way to deal with this right now, but if I take, I don't know, 2 or 3 cards out of the deck for 2 or 3 cards in my little sideboard here, now I have a way to stop and at least try and fight whatever you're doing. It's usually 2 players, because it's me versus you, for instance. And apparently there's a time duration, so you only have 20 minutes to make your gameplay. So if you're playing Modern, be understanding about what you're doing, about what somebody else's deck is doing, and just kind of click faster and think. It does not rotate. There's a lot of different decks in the format, and these decks are kind of like Standard. They can range from couple hundred bucks to $800,000 decks. Like they're getting pricey right now. So because it doesn't rotate, it doesn't change what sets are legal. It only adds to it. It makes it very versatile. It makes it very easy to dive into, because you could take whatever standard deck you had, I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago, and at least try it in Modern. It may not be as good, because Modern is a very, very big collection of cards to pull from. So you could try it, see how it does. It might do okay, and then you'll run into a couple of decks that are like, I don't know, turn 1 through 3, you're dead, and you're like, okay, what just happened? So you might run into that problem if you play Modern. I have a good friend of mine who plays Modern, and he absolutely loves it. And you can click down here and see we have our current legal sets, which are the standard legal sets are Magic Foundations, Duskborn, House of Horror, Bloomburrow, Assassin's Creed, Modern Horizons 3. These are all sets that are currently legal in Modern. I mean, look at this list. It just goes Lord of the Rings, March of the Machine, Zendikar, Modern Horizons 2, which kind of figures. I mean, if it's named Modern Horizons, it's going to be legal, because that's what they made it for, is the set. But I mean, look at this list of sets. It just keeps going down. Oh my. All the way back to one of the sets I first got really, really, really big into Magic, which was Mirrodin. But this is just what you have for a list. So you can go to the card database and just kind of start looking at cards and see if they're legal or not. They have a ban and restricted list down here, which is what I was going to try and find and show you. So you can always click there and go, hey, this really big thing I saw, is it legal or not? Oh, okay, yeah, or oh man, no, it's not. And see, they show you some of the sets. You can click here and kind of check them out a little bit. This is coming out very soon, as you can see. This is the current legal set for Standard, as well as Pioneer and Modern. I like this set. As many other content creators have said that make Magic the Gathering content and have gone over Foundations, it is a beautiful nod to the original releases of Magic the Gathering. It has some stuff that is off the wall, but it has a lot of like gentle nods to Magic the Gathering's history. But this is Modern. It has, as you can see, a giant list of things you can pull from. And it tells you a couple different ways you can play. You can play online, Magic Gathering online. You can use Spell Table to just kind of like me versus you over Spell Table. So you could be in China, and we could open up this, get everything set up, and we could play thousands and thousands of miles away from each other. We could just use our webcams and we can duke it out. So like if we were a team and you're all the way in China and I couldn't make it, I was sick or whatever, we could still kind of run through some of the decks you might see in your tournament out there and kind of help better prepare you. And then there's in person, what they call tabletop. So we go to a store and we can learn. We can sit there and play and grind it out. It's pretty fun. I don't play anything but Commander these days because Commander is very easy. To start off, all you can go and, as you see these decks scrolling through, you can buy any of these 8 decks that they have right here on their homepage, and there's a bunch of different decks you can choose from that are what we call pre-cons. So you can buy any of those, rip it open, put some sleeves on it, shuffle it up, and let's go. You can sit down and jam a game. Don't ever take this as like every game's going to be like an hour to 2 hours. Some games finish extremely fast. Those are the top tier level. That is what we call competitive EDH or CEDH. These are decks that are typically thousands and thousands of dollars, and they can run through games back to back to back to back to back to back to back. Usually their games are turn 1 through probably 5 or 6. They're dead. Everybody's shot their shot, and somebody has come out the winner. Is probably the best way to explain that. So they can jam 4, 5, 6 games in the time it would take me and 3 of my buddies to sit down and duel out a game most of the time. Some of your what we call casual Commander games, they can run for quite a few hours, or sometimes they don't run that long. Sometimes they are 50 minutes or so. I know my local game store down the road and some of the others I have been to and gone through unofficial Commander tournaments, because Commander is a way to play, but it's not an officially recognized tournament level, if that makes any sense, because it is so hard to regulate. I mean, the thing about Commander is there's a banned list, and aside from, I don't know, 300 or 400 cards on the banned list, you have access to every single card in Magic the Gathering's history. That is a gigantic number of cards to pull from. Granted, I'll get into more details about how to play the game for Commander here in just a minute. But with that much of a card pool, it is next to impossible to restrict that for any kind of like tournament play. Typically, you want a minimum of 3 players, and for his ideal. Uh, I know I've done 6, 8, even 10-person battle royales, and I won an 8-person pod. That was kind of fun. Killed everybody in one shot. That's a story for another time. But it's so much fun. The deck size, as you can see, has changed. We are not a 60 card format. We are 100 card format. Um, they call it Commander because it's the way that it's played. Uh, this was created by a group up in Alaska, if I remember the story correctly. And back when it was created, there was very, very limited legendary creatures that were actually any kind of good. Uh, and you heard me call it CEDH, competitive EDH. The reason it's called EDH is way back in the day, there was a movie and even a TV series called Highlander. And in this movie, their gimmick is there can be only one. They're a group of what you would assume to be normal human beings. But their difference is they actually are immortal. And the only way to kill them is to behead them. And when you behead them, you experience something called the quickening, and you basically absorb everything that they are, their life force and their power. Uh, and these are beings that are like from like 300 Scotland, and really really old things, really really old people with weapons and stuff from a time that they should not be alive, but because they are immortal, they cannot be killed by conventional ways. So, like, stab them through the heart, it hurts them, but it doesn't kill them. Shoot them, it hurts them, but doesn't kill them. They'll bleed, but they won't bleed out. The only way to kill them is from one immortal to behead the other. Um, and this is all because of something called the Source of Power. And the only way to get that Source of Power is to be the only immortal left standing. Really good movie from the 80s. And a TV series from the 90s, I want to say. I remember watching with my mom and dad. So that's where the Highlander part of it comes from. Now, its original name was not Commander. It was called Elder Dragon Highlander. So now you know where the Highlander part comes from. And it explains a lot about the way this is played in just a second. It's called Elder Dragon because there were 5 original Elder Dragons that started all this. And back in the time, those were pretty much the biggest things you could use, because they realized as they were playing through this little casual way to play and just pass time was, how do we want to end this game, and how do we want to play it? Okay, so we're gonna hit after probably multiple rounds of playing it. But like, okay, well, what do we do if somebody has, like, let's say, infinite life? I don't know. How do you beat somebody like that? Oh, I have an idea. What if it takes 21 points of damage from a commander to kill said person? Hey, that's a good idea. So they added that rule. Now, the reason why 21 was picked is because all of the original Elder Dragons were 7 power. So that means you only had to get hit 3 times minimum by these creatures, and you're out. It doesn't matter if you have infinite life. It doesn't matter if you have a way to infinitely put cards from your graveyard back into your deck. It doesn't matter. 21 points of a commander damage, and you're out. Now, it's a commander damage because you could steal my commander and kill somebody with it. As long as it's a commander dealing the damage, and it doesn't matter who controls it. As long as it's a commander, they're going to die. And they call it Highlander because it is singleton minus basic lands. You can have any number of basic lands in the deck. That is never going to change. But, like, you can only have one copy of the Elder Dragon to lead your deck. And then the other 99 cards, minus your basic lands, have to have only one copy of it. Now this is important because in other formats, you can have 1 through 4 copies of said card, unless it's been restricted. In some other formats, like Legacy and Vintage, a lot of things are restricted only 1 or 2 copies. So in Commander, you can only have 1 copy of, like, I don't know, we'll pick like Llanowar Elf. Classic, 1-drop, make a mana elf. You can only have 1 copy of that in your whatever green deck. So that's how they came up with the way to play Elder, Dragon, Highlander. And they have since adapted. Wizards loved the way that it was. They saw people trying it, and of course, being a major world company, decided, hey, we need to make a profit off of this, and thus Commander was born. I started playing in the very first release, which was, when was that? I have to look up when that actually was, but it was back in the early 2000s, mid 2000s actually. I want to say it's 09 or 13, somewhere around there. That's when they released the first set of 5 Commander decks, and it exploded from there. I got all my friends into it, my brother and everybody, and we loved it. Again, you can play online, you can play through Spell Table and Tabletop. So a lot of the content creators I follow and have watched over the years, they use Tabletop and online a lot, because a lot of them are like in Canada and US, but they're good friends and they've made a channel together, so they love to play. So they use something like Spell Table in order to play, and it's really, really interesting. And some of the best way to play is through Tabletop, in my opinion. I love going to my game stores, sitting down and jamming some games. And to me, it's about the fun and the experience, and it's about bringing out something that nobody's ever seen before, and they're like, what in the world is that? Especially for somebody like me who's been playing for over 20 years. I have an extensive knowledge of the game, an extensive knowledge of the rules, which is kind of why I made this channel, to kind of go over some stuff that people don't know. I'm not a judge by any rule, sense, or meaning. This is just kind of learning as I've played over the years, and I have a lot of information that people don't know. So, hence the purpose of this channel, to try and show people ins and outs of Magic. It's more than just a card game. So this is just a little breakdown of how I play one of my favorite formats, which is Commander. It is a format for 4 players per game, and you can go higher if you wish, but 4 is usually pretty ideal. Your deck is 99 cards plus your Commander. Now, it says that because you pick a legendary creature to be in charge of your deck. And that creature sits outside of your deck in its own little spot called the command zone. And it's listed down here, so we'll get to that right here in just a second. And then you shuffle up the other 99, you draw 7 cards, and you start to play the game. The Commander format is all about picking your hero and building a deck around them. In this casual multiplayer format, you choose a legendary creature to serve as your Commander, as I just said. Build the rest of your deck around the color identity and abilities of that card. So what that means is, the color identity is the color, what we call pips on the card. So, like if you look at Llanowar Elf, it is a 1 green mana or 1 green pip card. So it is a mono green card. But if you look at something like Bosch, the Iron Golem, it has no color on it until you actually look further down, and its ability is 3 in a red, so it's technically a red Commander card. So that's what they mean by the color identity. Now, that does get a little bit confusing because there are things that have what they call extort, and it's just a reminder text. It's not like an actual color identity tip per se. It's just a reminder that you can pay white or a black and do this effect. That's one card that really just kind of messes with people. So people see it and they're like, hey, you can't have that in your mono white deck, it's white black. No, it is legal because it is a reminder rules text, not an actual text on the card. Some cards actually have the extort printed on them, and it's a little confusing. It's easier just to look it up and see if you can actually use it or not. But players are allowed only one card in their deck minus basic lands, and you can go throughout Magic's history aside from the ban list. And see, it talks about your color identity, so it can come from any part of a card, including the casting cost, which is the amount on the top right hand corner of the card, and any kind of mana symbol in its text box. And every card in your commander deck must use mana symbols that appear on your commander, and colorless cards are allowed as well. So your artifacts are typically the best way to go to help some decks do various things like draw cards, make mana, that kind of thing. And the mana symbols have to match your commander. So, for instance, one of the original Elder Dragons was the big baddie of the game for a while, Nicol Bolas. Nicol Bolas is a red, a black, and a blue Elder Dragon. So I wouldn't be able to use white or green in his deck because he doesn't have white and green. He is only red, blue, and black. But it's still a really fun, really powerful deck. And there's all the way from single color to 5 colors, so you have a huge selection of things you can do here. And we talk about like the command zone. Like the command zone is you can read all this for yourself. If I go to this page, the command zone is essentially where your commander sits, and at any point in time when you have the mana to do so, and it's your turn, you have the ability to do it, you can cast your commander from the command zone, which most decks rely and built around that commander being on the board to do something. Whether it's boost everybody, draw cards, whatever. So for a lot of decks, it's get my commander out ASAP and start doing my thing. Other decks that are more controlling, they may sit back and wait and go, I'm going to let the board set up for a minute, or I'm going to cast something and destroy everything. Then I'm going to play my die. So you never know. But every time your commander is taken off the battlefield, aside from being bounced to your hand, they go back to this little command zone, and it costs you 2 more colorless every single time. So, like a popular 1-drop commander is Raise the Redeemed. It is a white or a green hybrid commander. It only costs 1 mana, so either 1 white or 1 green, and you can play it. But if I lightning bolt that thing on my turn, now it goes back to the command zone. If you wish, you can always let it go to the graveyard, which I don't recommend unless you got a way to bring it back very quickly. But I can lightning bolt your commander. It goes to the command zone, so it goes from over here in the battlefield to way back over here in its little command zone. We'll just say, using your imagination here, and then on your turn, you need to have 2 more mana to play it again. So then it goes from being 1 mana cost to 3, and so on and so forth. As it explains more in depth here, if it would be put to your library, your hand, your graveyard, or even exile from anywhere, you can always default it back to the command zone. So even if you accidentally put it to the graveyard and somebody goes, well, I'm going to remove all graveyards from the game, you always have an action to say, do you want it to be removed from the game? Do you not care anymore? You're just giving up? Or, are we going to put it back in the command zone? So you always have an out. Some decks do like them in the graveyard because black decks, for instance, it's easy for them to just pull it back out at a cheaper cost when it starts to get too high. And this is what I was talking about, the commander damage. It it takes only 21 damage dealt by any commander over the course of the game, and you're out. Now, it is combat damage only, so like you can't just take somebody's commander and use a card like Fling, which sacks a creature, and throw it at somebody's face. It'll do damage, but it will be commander damage. It has to be done through combat. And as you can see by reading all this, it is a free-for-all format. So typically it's me versus like my wife, my brother, my best friend. We're all fighting each other, and we're trying to win. Trying to have a good game, pass some time, get some laughs. It follows the standard thing of, you shuffle up, cut the deck preferably. Some people don't. I'm either or. Sometimes I'll cut your deck if you really want to. Otherwise, I really don't care. I'm just here to play and have fun. You draw 7 cards, and you follow what they call the mulligan rule. In a commander, you get 1 free time to take your hand and throw it in the deck, shuffle, draw to 7. That is called a mulligan. And you can do this as many times as you need to, but just remember, after the first one that is free, it's going to cost you a card. So you'll have to go down 1 card every single time. So let's say I draw an opening 7. I don't like it. Shuffle it back in, draw another 7. Well, that's my free one right there. I don't like it. So I shuffle it back in. I draw another 7. Well, now I got a hand I like. But now my problem is I have 7 cards, and I have to pick one of them to go back onto the bottom of the deck. Nobody has to see what it is. But you pick one from your hand, put it on the bottom of the deck, and let's go. And if you went down, if you had to shuffle, if you did it again, it would be 2 cards, and 3 cards, and 4 cards, so on and so forth. You could do it all the way down to 0 if you really wish to. I don't recommend that, but I've seen people win the game from 3 cards or so, and it might be needed sometimes. You can attack anybody at any point in time as long as there's nothing saying you can't. Like, there are some cards that say you have to pay mana to attack me, or they change the direction the game goes, or they say like you could only hit people to my left, to my right, one direction or the other, or you can what we call lock the game down, which means nobody can attack anybody. That's quite interesting, and there's so many different ways to play. So many different ways. Just like with the modern list I clicked on, you have a ban restricted list, you have a card database that you can click on and just pull from Magic's history. And as we go down, this shows you some articles some of the people here have written, so you could kind of go through and see, and kind of like with modern, but to a way more extensive degree, we are open and fast in our card collection pool. Anything but something that is up here in the ban restricted list is ready to go. So this is the Magic the Gathering homepage. This is where you can come to do a lot of research and find out a lot of things about the game. So you can look at what's coming out soon and kind of read some of the stories that are there if they have any. This is everything that's currently available, so you can always click on any of these, and you can even go to the set archive down here and just scroll through your heart's content. We have Arena. Arena is currently a free downloadable way to play the game, and I believe they just released it for your cell phone, but you could download it for like your laptop, for instance, or your computer at home, I should say, and you can play for free online. Sign up, create an account. You can spend money to get more advanced, but you don't have to, and you can start learning the game. It has Brawl, which is a form of Commander, but it's like 1v1 Commander. It doesn't have like actual Commander on Arena, so you can play an actual Commander online using Magic the Gathering Online, or MTGO. This is some tips and tricks on how to play the game right here for you to learn how to play Magic. You have So if like there's a keyword or something you don't understand, I always tell people look it up. They have an app that you can download called the Companion app. I have it. It's wonderful. When you open it up, it allows you to look at cards, pooling. It allows you to sign into events. So like your game store gets recognized by Wizards of the Coast here that, hey, they are doing well. Let's send them some more promos to give out to the players, that kind of thing. So if you ever get the chance to go to your game store, a local game store, whatever the case is, if they have a code up there and you're in the event, sign in. Help out the game store. We need the game stores, because the only other place to really get a lot of those cards is either online, which I'm going to show you here in just a minute, or through something like Target, Walmart, big chains. You can go to like some Dollar Generals, Dollar Trees. They have some kind of cards there. Usually not worth what you're trying to get. It's usually just kind of junk. But you can always check out Walmart, Target. Those are the two big stores I can think of off the top of my head that typically have some good Magic the Gathering selection. You can visit their shop, and I'm sure they got all sorts of stuff here. As we said, this is where you can play Magic. You can make it a spell table account. There's online, there's arena. You could scroll through here and check out more of the formats that you want that I didn't really go over, and you can check out some of the events. So let's say if you're not a Commander player, you can come over here to the far left, and you can check out all these, get more information about what these actually are, and how they do their thing. So that is a lot of information real quick. So let's go back to Google. One thing that people don't understand is you could go to this website, tcgplayer.com, and this is the typical standard for card prices. So you could download this app to your phone, and it has a place where you can scan, and it will show you a card price. So like, let's type in so we'll type in Nicol Bolas, who is one of the original Elder Dragons. And as you can see, we could buy this card, and there's several different printings we could choose from to buy this card. This is the version I have. It's from a set called Chronicles, and it's pretty old. This is his original printing. His original printing was way back in Legends, back in 1994. So this is how Elder Dragon Highlander, or EDH, now named Commander, got its start. As you can see, it's a lot of mana to get this big boy out. A lot of mana. And this is an Elder Dragon Legend. So this is where EDH comes from. He's got 7 powers, 7 toughness, and that's kind of how it plays. So if you're a new player or you're experienced and you don't know how people are figuring out the cost of cards, this is the way they do it. They usually go to TCG Player and they type in a card, and you can see one is going to be heavily played for about $65 minus shipping. And you come down here and you can pick some that are better condition, worse condition, whatever matches your price point here. And see, here's the other legendary dragons. There's Victus Asmati, Palladium Moors, Arcadius Sabeth, and Chromium. So those are the original 5 Elder Dragons that started all of the Commander format, which is primarily what I'm going to talk about on this channel. We'll see how things go. So this is a typical website people use. So if you pull something really cool and shiny, a nice cool rare, don't just trade it away. Look it up, because sometimes they're 25 cents, sometimes they're big money cards. So, you don't want to trade your for instance, your nickel bolus that you got from a collection or your dad or whatever. To me, for just we'll say $65 card. To me, for my 25-cent rare. Now, first of all, I wouldn't do that because I've been playing the game long enough. I have a pretty good idea what cards work. So, if I wanted your nickel bolus, for instance, I would trade a lot to get it, or a big item to get it, because I'm going to match this price the best that I can, or exceed it, because I like being fair to other people, and using this website has helped out a lot, because that's a big thing. I see new players don't understand certain cards are worth money, and unfortunately some older veteran players do take advantage of that. Not everybody's a good person. Well, we kind of know that. So if you're just now starting the game, this is a website to go to. A fun thing that people don't really know is you can go to this website and you can buy other things like binders, sleeves, deck boxes, all that kind of stuff. You can buy it all here. Another website is cardkingdom.com, which, by the way, nobody here is a sponsor of this channel. They are just websites that I have learned to gather over my time playing the game. So Wizards isn't sponsoring me, TCG Player's not sponsoring me, Card Kingdom's not sponsoring me. Nobody I'm showing you is a sponsor. I'm just trying to relay information. Maybe one day they will be. I don't know. We'll find out. So this is a typical Magic the Gathering card. Now this is an old printing. So let's see a more modern version of the Lord Nicol Bolas. So this is from Magic Masters 25, which was like it wasn't a standard legal set, but it was like a bonus set. So this is modern day artwork, modern day printing of the card. So typical breakdown of the card is we have our Lord and Savior Nicol Bolas. This is his mana cost up here. So in order to play him, you need a red, a black, a blue, and 2 of any color to play him. So you can make extra of any of these, or you can just have 2 floating mana or you can use like a Soul Ring, for instance, which is a mana rock that you could pay 1 mana and drop and it'll tap for 2 colorless mana. So a breakdown of our friend Nicol Bolas here. He's a legendary Elder Dragon creature. He has flying, and he has this downside. So at the beginning of your upkeep, which is the start of your turn, you either throw him to the graveyard unless you pay a blue, a black, and a red. So that is his downside. And then whenever he deals damage to an opponent, that player discards his or her hand. Now, this is something you need to look at very carefully. For instance, it says deals damage. He doesn't have to attack. So if you have a way to like make him, for instance, tap or turn sideways and do a point of damage to somebody, that counts, and that means they have to discard a card. It is a very, very mean way to play the game, and some people play it. I got a friend of mine who's been playing since day one. Shout out to Evil Neil. He loves playing his Nicol Bolas deck. Now, it's not as mean and nasty as he could make it, because he just likes to mess with people, but it can still be pretty mean. And real quick, you can see over here, you can get a lightly played foil for about 20 bucks. So if you like this art for Nicol Bolas and you're like, cool, but I want it shiny, I want a foil, you can come over here to TCG Player, for instance, and buy one for about 20 bucks. This right here is the rarity of the card. Every Magic the Gathering card is going to have what we call a set symbol right here. And this set symbol is this particular case is a 25 because it was the 25th anniversary of Magic the Gathering. So this is the little symbol that they chose to go with, 25, with the Planeswalker symbol as they've come to adopt behind it. It is a gold color because it is a rare. And if it was black, it would be a common. If it was a silver color, it would be a uncommon. This would be your rare, and your mythic is going to be like an orange color. Like, hold on. Like this. Let's see, hold on. There we go. See, this is an orangish red kind of color. This is a mythic, which is the tier or level right above rare. So this is the hardest of the kind of cards to pull from each pack. This is the first commander that I ever got. This was Kaalia of the Vast. So when they first came out with Commander products, this was the very first one I bought. And it came out in 2011, so I was pretty close. I love dragons, so when she got what we call spoiled, or I first saw it in the Walmart, that's all it said, Angel, Demon, or Dragon Creature, and I was like, okay, cool, I want that. And I bought it, and it was a lot of fun. Got a lot of hate. She's a kill on sight kind of commander. But this is TCG player. Give you just kind of a quick rundown of a creature. So like Kaalia here, for instance, you would need a red, a black, a white, and one colorless mana to play her. Now, in the format of Commander, this means you have to have these three colors in your cards. So you can have like red dragons, black dragons, white dragons, angels, demons, whatever. But you can't have like a blue dragon in the deck because blue is not in her color wheel. So you can only use red, black, and white cards in the deck. You can use colorless cards, of course, but it has to have that color, what we call pip. So each symbol right here, where my mouse is moving to, is called a pip. So for each one of these, your other cards have to have that. So like this was also in the deck. Teriel, Reckoner of Souls. A lot of what you can see down here. So like when you pick your card, you can also scroll down here, and this shows you what other people have bought with the card you're looking up. Like in this case, Kaalia. See, like this angel is a red, white, white, so it could go into this deck. Bladewing, he is a dragon that's black, black, red, red, and more, of course. But just looking at the color pips, and it's a little hard to see, I'm sure, but down here he has an ability that's red, black. So if up here for some reason he was colorless, he could still be a red-black commander because his ability down here has a red and a black pip. Like some of the artifacts you can use, these are legal, but you have to watch out because like the Signet cycle, which there's a set of 10, one for a couple of different color pairings, so you have 10 total. It is a red and a white, so you can use this in the deck, but you couldn't use like the red blue because it would be a red and a blue. Real quick before we move on, hold on. Where is my friend Bosch? Let's do it this way. I don't know why it's not pulling him up, but wow, okay, so we're not going to pull it up, but I was going to show you Bosch to Iron Golem. So, actually, let's do this. So this is another website you can go to. And apparently it has a default browser it likes to pull up here. But as you can see, you can go and there he is. So you could go to this website. It's in this place you can get some card prices and buy some cards. But in terms of like commander, Bosch can be your commander. He is a legendary creature. He is a Golem legend. This is his first printing back in Mirrodin when I got really big into the game. The reason why he can be counted as a red commander is because of his ability right here. He has another ability called Trample, which I'll get into that later. But his main ability makes him a red commander. He is for 3 and 1 red, you can sacrifice an artifact and he deals damage equal to the sacrificed artifact's mana value or mana cost to anything you want. So typically the way people build this deck is they cheat out big artifacts really fast, and then they use Bosch to pick them up and throw them. So something that costs like 10 mana to play can actually cost very little. I have built this deck before. It is a fun deck to play, and you literally just throw artifacts at people and you deal damage. And because it's not a tap ability, it is a mana ability right here. You can, if somebody's really low on life and they think they can take you out, if you have the ability to pay the mana cost here, you can always chuck something and kill them if they're low enough, or possibly blow up anything that is coming your way. But this is Card Kingdom. They are not sponsored as well, but they are another place that you could go to and look up card prices and kind of compare, because sometimes TCG doesn't have the best prices. And Card King, well, and the difference between Card Kingdom and TCG Player. TCG Player, you're buying from multiple places all around the country, maybe even around the world. So you could buy Bosch here from TCG Player, and it could arrive within a week or 2, month, who knows. But if you bought Bosch and Kaalia, they won't arrive at the same time unless you buy them from the same store that has it on sale. And even then, it's not really a guarantee. Typically, it would be hey, you bought Bosch and Kaalia from the same place, so they're going to pull both those cards and ship them out to you. But typically with TCG Player, you're typically buying whatever is more in your budget. So if you bought like Bosch, Kaalia, and we'll throw in Nicol Bolas from TCG Player, that's probably going to be 3 separate packages coming through your mailbox or your front door, or wherever you have mail shipped. And the difference with Card Kingdom is it may cost more for some cards to be bought here, but it comes from one package. You're not having to wait for multiple packages to get to your front door or your mailbox. It's all going to come from one package. So if you bought like, I don't know, 20 Bosch Iron Golems, I don't know what you would, but let's say you bought 20 Bosch Iron Golems to build decks and give away to people, per se. Well, all 20 of them are going to come from one package. But let's say you bought Bosch, Bolas, and Kaalia. Well, if you buy them all from Card Kingdom, it doesn't matter. They're coming from one store, and they are all going to be in one package. It also has other supplies here, like TCG Player. You're able to buy deck boxes, card sleeves, dice, gift cards, playmats, all sorts of other stuff here. Those are the 2 websites I like to use for card prices, buying cards online, things like that. You also have like you got Channel Fireball, for another place you can buy cards and stuff from, and it shows you some of the people that play in tournaments, like some of these people play in tournaments and they are sponsored by Channel Fireball. I'm not sponsored by them in any way, shape, or form either. This is just information I'm handing out. Maybe one day some of these companies will reach out to me if the channel goes somewhere, but we'll see. Kind of like the Wizards of the Coast, they have articles here that you can go back and read. They have breakdowns of the ways to play, like my favorite commander. Just a lot of information that you can choose from and read and learn more about the game. And, like when you sign up, I'm sure you get all sorts of perks and whatnot. I am not signed up because I know quite a bit of the game anyway. So, as you can see, this has like all sorts of deck lists and stuff like that. One final website is MTG Goldfish. Again, they are not a sponsor, but they have a YouTube channel, which I do watch and follow. They are great gamers. I love watching their content. So they release videos practically every day. They have a show on there called Commander Clash. If you want to see some off-the-wall stuff, I recommend watching it. It is a great thing to watch. But as you can see, this has all sorts of information here. They do like decks and stuff like that, like tournaments. So you can click on here and see what's doing what tournament-wise. Mox Opal for card pricing here. It just got unbanned in Modern like a couple of weeks ago, so the price of this card has been skyrocketing ever since. I have one, and it's jumped significantly. As you can see, one Mox Opal costs you $200. That's pretty backbreaking. See, that's a big reason why I'm not into like tournament play, because you kind of have to have this card. And I know what you're sitting here wondering, why is one card $200? Well, it's very simple. Mox Opal is a mythic level legendary artifact, but it costs no mana to play it. No mana. So you can play it without having a land on the battlefield. But it has this ability called Metalcraft. Metalcraft is an old ability from Scars of Mirrodin, if I remember correctly. And what that means is if you have 3 or more artifacts on your battlefield, this now activates. It now becomes what we call live. So you could turn it sideways or tap it and add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. But it actually explains it right here as well. Activate this ability only if you control 3 or more artifacts. So, because it's legendary, you can only have 1 on the battlefield of your side at a time. So, if you had 3 in the opening hand, you can't drop all 3 and go. It can only be 1 at a time. But if you had this and a couple other cheap artifacts that cost 0 mana, then this becomes live. So then you would have this, a couple other artifacts, and a land, and you could just put your foot on the gas pedal, let's go, and wreck shop. But they show you some of the top cards that are increasing in prices here on their website of Goldfish, and some of the cards that have gone down recently. So Magic the Gathering cards fluctuate a lot in card prices. Certain things get picked up by tournament peak competitors and they spike, and certain things get picked up by commander players and spike. They have their own merch, so you can buy anything here you really enjoy. They have all sorts of cool stuff for people. Down here, as you keep scrolling, you got all sorts of stuff that you can do if you become a subscriber and all that kind of stuff. Some of the stuff is free to use as well. But they're another place you could come to, kind of look up card prices, but if you're having trouble finding a certain card, try them. You probably can find it from their website. So those are just some websites I like to use and visit. They allow you to get ideas on card prices. So we've covered the homepage for Magic the Gathering. We've talked a little bit about how to play. We've talked a lot about what Commander actually is in a nutshell. I've given you some information about websites to use to look at card prices. So now you're sitting there going, okay, I know where to go. So I know where to go play. I know where to go buy cards. I know where to look up card prices. So I know that if I go to trade with somebody, I'm not going to get totally ripped off. So what next? Okay, well, we have another place I like to use for protecting my sleeves. Again, they are not a sponsor, just showing you information. Maybe one day they will be, because I personally absolutely love Dragon Shield. Yeah. Dragon Shield have the best shuffle feel for me. I love their card sleeves. Let's just pick them all so we can kind of show a little bit here. They actually have something called a perfect fit, which is something I only learned about just a handful of years ago. So a perfect fit is a very, very tight sleeve that goes around the card. And I learned about them a few years ago, and I was very curious about them. And at the time, they were kind of expensive. They've dropped a little bit because they've grown in popularity. But a lot of like your top tier CEDH level decks that are thousands of dollars. I mean, these decks are ridiculously priced. They use these because you can put your cards in this and then put it into a normal sleeve, and your card is double protected. This is their top loader, which is just like a normal sleeve. So typically what I recommend people do when you buy something like this, and there's a couple other companies that make sleeves like this too. All you gotta do is type in perfect fit and make sure that they fit a standard trading card, not a Japanese, because something like Yu-Gi-Oh, for instance, is smaller. So you can't buy like a Japanese fit and expect it to fit your Magic the Gathering cards. It won't work. With that said, this is a top loader, which means the sleeve is open here at the top. It doesn't open from the side. It doesn't open from anywhere. It's open right here at the top. So typically what I tell people to do when you buy a set of sleeves like this is turn it around upside down. So 180. And you put your card in from the bottom. So then when you put it into the top of this sleeve, they sandwich together and make a very good protective seal for your cards. Otherwise, you're not really doing anything if you put it in from the top and in from the top. You're accomplishing nothing. So if you want perfect fits, they make your decks look a little bit bigger, but they are guaranteed to make sure that you can feel a little bit more at ease shuffling up next to anybody that has a drink. As you can see, they have all sorts of different artworks that you can choose from. Brushed art, which is really, really nice. They have really been pushing these dual matte sleeves. I love a set of these that I have. They are absolutely beautiful because there's typically a color on the inside. Because you've ever bought a sleeve, you know there's a back and a front, and the front's usually a clear piece, and the back is usually like a white color or something. Well, Dragon Shield has taken that a step further, and now they've added another color to the inside of what you would see here, and it can make certain cards really, really, really pop. Like, this is a matte gold dual sleeve, so it's a red and gold color. One side will be a gold, and then the other side, which you would look at through the clear plastic, will be the other color. Matte sleeves are definitely the best thing to get. Don't get gloss; they tend to stick. I mean, you can get them if you really feel like it, but the mattes are just so much better. Like, this is really cool. Again, they are not a sponsor. They are just some product I really enjoy using. Just pay attention when you're buying. Make sure that it says like standard size right here, so you know that it's going to fit your Magic the Gathering cards. But if you play Yu-Gi-Oh or whatever, look for the Japanese size. They've got a large selection of that too. These are what I typically go for. These are resealable perfect fit sleeves. Now the packaging looks longer because it is. So right about halfway here, is where you see the difference. So we're at about halfway. This is a little hard to see without an actual example. So let's see. Okay, it won't let me do that. I was trying to see if it would send me a little picture of it. But halfway through here, there is an extra piece of the sleeve, if you will. Like, instead of cutting it off right here and making it just a perfect little size, there's a little flap, if you will. And typically, same thing, put your card in from the bottom and backwards, actually, because you want the piece that you can tuck in to be on the back side of the card, and you tuck it in, and it makes like this wonderful, perfect seal around the card, and then you put it into another sleeve, and you're ready to rock and roll. I love using these. They have playmats, deck boxes, all sorts of stuff here too. Again, none of these websites are sponsoring me. This is just information I'm passing along. So you've got all your information now. So now you have where you want to play, where you want to buy, what kind of sleeves I personally recommend. There is Ultra Pro. You can buy Ultra Pro if you wish. There is Ultimate Guard if you wish. Those are the big three. So you could buy whatever really goes for your fancy, so to say. So you're not just limited to what I like, but I personally have been using Dragon Shield for a very long time, and I really love the shuffle feel. So that's just a little bit of a background, and like I said, we'll get more in depth as I start releasing more of these videos. So now we're looking at okay, so I want to see what can I do to build a deck. I want to build a deck. Where do I go? Some people use Archideck. Some people use Tapped Out. There's quite a few different places you can go to. Most people use Moxfield because it will also give you prices on a couple of websites. I know TCG Player and I think Card Kingdom. So you can like literally build the deck and plug it into one of those websites and buy the whole deck. So coming up on what I believe will be the end of this video, so I can start another video. So this is Moxfield. These are some of the decks I have built. I'll show more here in a minute. These are some of the people I have followed on YouTube and have found them here on this website, so I can stay up to date with some of the decks and brews that they come up with. So you can do that. Here are, they're very affiliated TCG players, so you can click on any of these to just read some more about certain decks and whatnot. And you keep scrolling down, and these are all the public decks. These are decks like if you made a deck like right now, I could go right here and look and see, check out what you got, see if there's something there I like, comment and fix or whatever. They have a Discord, they have a Patreon, all that good stuff. I don't have any of those set up yet. So before anybody asks, no, I don't have a Patreon. I don't have a Discord set up. This is the first episode, so we're going to see how things go. If this is information people like, leave a comment, like, subscribe, and just kind of tell me what you like. Leave me comments of what got you into the game, and what you're hoping to learn from this. So you tell me what you're hoping to learn, what you don't know, and I'll try my best to give you that information. So before we call it a day, so we're gonna look at like these are the decks I have brewed. I have over 241 decks. I think a lot about Magic, as you can tell. I love playing the game. It's a great hobby, and this shows like everything I've come up with and how long it's been around, kind of thing. So you can literally just click on my page here and just scroll. Typically, it's either a friend of mine who gives me an idea, or I'm like, hey, I saw this in a YouTube. What can I do with it that might make it a little bit different? One of my most unique decks is my CEDH Grixis Dragonstorm list, this has a very key card in it, which is Dragonstorm. This is the whole point of the deck. I'm trying to pull this out, and it allows me to summon my big terrifying dragons really cheap. I have not updated the list in a while, so I might have to do that. Like if you're on an actual computer, it'll break all this down so you can see like the number of creatures, sorceries, instants, artifacts, how many enchantments, and even the land count. And see, this is what I was talking about. Like, this is a CEDH deck, so in US dollars, this is a $5,000 deck. If you pick the exact cards I have here, exact printings, foil, and everything. So this is a $5,000 deck. And this shows you where you can buy it. They are also affiliated with Star City Games, which is another website you can go to buy cards, articles, and all that good stuff. Again, nobody I've said or shown you in this video is a sponsor or affiliated with me in any way, shape, or form. Just helpful information. But this is kind of a little pet project of mine. I love trying to do something off the wall, and this is definitely off the wall. People have mixed feelings about these. These are dual lands, and they are expensive because they're on what they call the reserve list, meaning they typically will never see print again. Wizards could change that at a certain point in time if they really feel like it. I'm sure they probably would face legal actions. But these are really old, hard to get lands, so they stir a lot in the community because some people feel you have to have them, and some people don't. CEDH, it's recommended because you're about going for the kill, so it's all about speed. So if we go back, where is... Sorry about that. So this is my current CEDH list. This is post-ban. So this is... we had a recent shakeup just a little while ago about some of the bannings, which was Nadu, Dockside, Mana Crypt, and Jeweled Lotus. The three that hurt me were Jeweled Lotus, Dockside, and the Mana Crypt. With them being banned, the deck has significantly changed. This is my current CEDH deck. This is my big baddie I bring out and knock some heads in with. And as you can see, if I could learn how to scroll my mouse here, this is a $7,000 deck with the exact printings. Now, I don't have all of the exact printings of these cards. And like, I'm missing an Imp Seal and a wheel here in my actual personal collection. But if you bought every card in this deck, the exact printing and whatnot that I have here, it would cost you $7,000 to buy this exact deck offline. Like, every card for card, it would cost you $7,000. So as you can see, CEDH can be quite expensive and quite back-breaking. So, but not every deck I have ever built is ridiculous. Like this is a budget deck, and everything in this deck is $1 or less. That was a restriction I put onto the build. So everything in here at the time of being built was $1 or less. I'm still kind of tweaking and playing around with it a little bit. My local game store is fixing to do a little tournament where they want you to build a deck that's $75 or less. So I'm thinking about building this and submitting it. This would be kind of a fun list, I think. As you can see, it is a $40 deck currently. And it's doing my favorite color wheel, which is Jund. I love Jund. that's the name of the color pairing here is, which is red, black, green. It's from Shards of Alara, an old set back in '09, I want to say. '08, '09, somewhere around there. I think '09. Anyway, love that set. This is where they get their name, because on that set there were 5 what they call color wedges, and this is one of the color wedges. So if you have interest in that, you can look that up and kind of get an idea what they were doing over there. So that's that. As you can see, this is just all sorts of different decks I've got built. Some that are private because I'm still kind of working on them a little bit. But this is the website I like to use to build decks, especially before I start getting pieces to build it in person. I want to build it online, modify it, tweak it, make sure it works the way I want it to, make sure it's going to make me happy to have the deck, and then I will go from there. I think one of my next videos, I will be more detailed and showing a deck that I was commissioned to build. He said had a $1,000 budget, so we've got as close to that as possible. But this is going to be Lord of the Nazgul, the Ring Hunter. Magic did release a year or two ago now, I think. 2 years ago now. The Lord of the Nazgul. So they did release a Lord of the Rings set. It was so much fun to play that. There are so many good cards from that set. But possibly my next video, I will be doing a breakdown of this deck, what I'm looking to do with the deck, how I'm looking to win with that, and what the purpose of the deck was. It's kind of janky, kind of fun, but it does have some fun things. So this is Moxfield though. You could sign up. It's free to sign up. There's an app for it. I haven't downloaded the app. You can search any kind of card you want to. You can build decks that you want to. Oh, one important feature I wanted to bring up. So, because when you build the deck, it asks you to pick what you wanted to build for. So, like in this case, Commander. So when you build the deck and you put some of the cards in, you have to put some cards into the deck for this to work. You can click right here and call EDH Rec, and it will show you 100 cards recommended from the website edhrec.com. Again, not a sponsor of my channel yet. Maybe one day. And this shows you what other people are doing with this deck. And so a lot of this is not in the deck because of my restriction of it being $8 or less. Even a good land like this, or better lands for what we call the shock lands, because when they come into play, they deal 2 damage to you. Old Magic players like myself call them shock lands because it is a nod to an old sorcery called shock. So what it will do though is it will show you everything people are putting into the deck that is gathered from multiple sources online. So it gives you some more ideas on what you want to have in or out of the deck. And it also, as you can see, puts in things that are of the color identity of your commander. So you're not seeing any blue, you're not seeing any white. All you're seeing is red, black, green, and of course your colorless artifacts like Sol Ring, which I mentioned earlier in the video. Technically, I could put it in there because everybody can get access to a Sol Ring if you buy a commander deck. 9 out of 10 times, there's, I think, only one deck I can think of off the top of my head that doesn't have a Sol Ring, and well, so Sol Ring and some kind of protection piece like a Swiftfoot Boots are typically going to be in a precon, and so I probably could slip it in, but I just haven't because it's still a personal restriction of we're $1. That brings me to the last part that I would like to talk about. So if you type in like Kali of the Vast on Google, this is people always ask me how I build decks. So typically I will look up something like Kaalia the Vast here, and um, I guess for me, a lot of my searches are based on Commander, so it automatically pulls up this website as the first thing I'm going to see. But you can type in Kaalia the Vast and like EDH or Commander at the end of your search bar here, and it'll pull up more commonly this right here. Look for EDH Rec. They have a YouTube channel, and they are a great tool for building a deck, because what it will show you is everything you're seeing right now. So it shows you some of the top cards from the new set Foundations that people are trying in the decks, or just throwing into the decks. So we have like some life gain here, Big Dumb Dragon, which is amazing. It has a very powerful ability. Big Dumb Demon, because Kaalia cares about angels, demons, and dragons. So her ability, we haven't really talked about her or her ability. So she is a 4-mana flying 2/2 legendary human cleric. So again, 4 mana. So she's a black, a white, a red, and one more. So she is only going to be in what we call Mardu. So she's not going to have blue. She's not going to have green. Makes it a little bit of a challenge. But her ability says whenever Kaalia of the Vast attacks an opponent, you may put an angel, demon, or dragon creature card from your hand onto the battlefield tapped and attacking that opponent. So that's the point behind this deck. You want to play big, dumb angels, dragons, and demons in this deck. So the point behind this website is it gives you an idea of what some people are doing with the deck. So you're going to see a lot of what I would call typical cards for this commander, such as Avacyn, Runescar, Gisela. They are very, very big mana cost creatures, big power, big booty. Their effects are backbreaking. And with Kaalia, she doesn't even have to deal combat damage. I just have to turn her sideways. If I get to my combat step and turn her sideways, something is more than likely coming, and it's not going to be a good day for you. So, big combo piece right here, because he is a demon, so he can be put into play for free. And whenever he attacks a player and it isn't blocked, that player, their life total becomes 1. And Master Arcole to use assigns no combat damage as combat. So typically that is what people fear the most with a Kaalia of the Vast deck, is this guy right here. I don't give a crap if you have 1,000,000 life and you think you're safe. If I attack you with Kaalia and I drop this boy right here, your life total becomes 1. That combo actually used to not work. I don't know what they've changed in the rulings to make it work. For a while, this was a nombo, because he has to attack. So the old word, the old wording, the old way was he had to be on the battlefield tapped and attacking, not declared as an attacker through Kaalia. But they have changed something in the ruling that makes this actually a deadly combo, and people are absolutely terrified of it, as you should be. This is her other printing back in M20. Not as good, but still kind of fun. Helps refill your hand a little bit. But as you scroll through, you can see some of the top cards in the deck. So you can get ideas on how you want to build the deck. This is a very tricky deck to build and master, because you have to have a good balance of all 3 if you're trying to do all 3. Typically, you could do like mainly Dragon Tribal, because dragons are horrifyingly powerful. Angels and demons are too. But I think it's easier to get some of the dragons than the angels and demons, probably. Depending on what you're trying to do, I guess. So you could build it as just one of these 3 tribes and use the other 2 colors as like a support color. And the deck will just, it'll slap, it'll do some damage, and it'll wreck some shop. She's very fragile. because if she dies too many times, you're paying for an overcost commander that just isn't going to help you any. This is a fun card. I really want to get one of these laminated to keep in my wallet, because for anybody that says, hey, guess what, the game, you just lost, I want to be able to pull this out of my wallet and go, actually, it says right here, quite literally, I cannot lose the game, and you cannot win the game. Just some little random joke humor right there. I've always thought this would be funny to have in your wallet. Everybody goes, hey, the game, haha, you lost. Be like, actually, I don't. So back to the deck though, like you can look up here and see, like this says this is a new card, which it is. It's from Foundations. It has very good applications to the Kaalia build. It shows you right here, it's in 21% of almost 1,000 decks online, and in this particular build, it would have 18% synergy because she is an angel, and well, Kaalia can put her down for free, and she has other abilities that make things good. As you can see, they have card prices here online and Card Kingdom prices. So you can tell, like this Angel, for instance, is $22. This is a pretty backbreaking price-wise deck if you go full power. You know, big protection spell right here, Diverse Protection at $50. Tutors, these are what we call tutors in the game, because they allow you to go find any card typically, and like this one for instance, you go find the card, set it aside, shuffle your deck, and put that card back on the top of your deck. So the next card you draw is going to be whatever you went to go find with this. Typically, they put them in your hand. That one just is one that puts it on top. This is another one that puts it on top. This goes for an artifact or enchantment. So it's not as loose when you go in to find something. You have to find something very specific. And this one is actually a reveal. So like if you're trying to be sneaky, it won't work. You're going to find that card and everybody's going to know it's coming. So as you can tell, this is just how I build decks though. You can type into Google whatever you're trying to build and use this website to try and give you an idea of not only a price range, like if you're trying to stay at a certain budget, but some of the things that people are throwing into the deck that make the deck hum and make the deck do whatever they're trying to do. I have a couple of different Kaalia builds on my Moxfield account. So I kind of experiment and go the opposite way. But you keep scrolling down, it tells you everything from creatures, artifacts, lands, enchantments, planeswalkers even. So you've got a lot of information that you can use from just this one little website. And that's typically how I build a deck, is I'll type it into Google and go to like I said, EDH Rec, and just kind of go through and get some ideas. Maybe there's something I've missed. This is a real quick. This is on Magic the Gathering's actual webpage. This is a place called Gatherer. And this can actually help you with rules as well. See, down here we have our rules question. So, like for instance down here, Kaalia's ability doesn't trigger if it attacks a planeswalker or a battle. A battle is a new permanent type that was introduced into Magic the Gathering just this past year, or is it 2? Anyways, so that is something I can cover in the video. More in-depth breakdown of certain cards and what they actually are. This is just kind of a crash course introduction to the game, and particularly into the format I like to play, which is Commander. But you can use this website as well. It gives you rulings. So if there's an issue with somebody saying, hey, you can't do that because of this, when in doubt, look it up. You can try Gatherer. Moxfield actually has a little bit of a ruling thing there too. Like Like if you click on the card, or if you type in like I don't know, like you can do it. You can look up like Prosh, and you can click on the card. This is my CDH commander, by the way, as we went over, and see down here it gives you the rulings of how Prosh is played. And I guess these are like the most common questions people have about the rulings of how Prosh actually works. Of course, when in doubt, if you can't find what you're trying to find, you can do like see it already kind of knows. So you can type it in like here, and it'll take you to like this website or even Reddit, and give you more of an in-depth, like detailed breakdown of how does Kaalia actually work. And there's, as you can see, a thread here people have started. This was years ago, the last response, but this kind of gives you an idea of how things actually work. And I actually saw, if we backspace a little bit, see, so if you were ever curious, you can look up combo pieces like this, and like this is back on EDU Trek, and it has like a complete breakdown of how everything works. So, as you can read, the way that this works is step 1, you have Kaalia attack. Step 2, her trigger goes onto the stack. Her ability does. And I'll cover what the stack is later. But it allows you to put the master cruelties onto the battlefield tapped and attacking. Now, if it isn't blocked, if the master cruelties is not blocked, its ability will trigger. The defending player's life total will become 1, causing it to deal no combat damage this turn. However, Kaalia of the Vast will then get to deal combat damage, and that will ultimately kill said player. And the only reason this works is because it has another ability called First Strike, meaning he gets to deal his damage first, then everybody else. So anything that has First Strike will deal its damage first. Except for something has, well, what we are going to go through later probably is Double Strike. So in this particular situation, he would come into play from her ability for free, and then he's going to punch, and his ability goes onto the stack and resolves. So now I've attacked you with Kaalia. Your life total is now going to drop down to 1. He deals no combat damage because he was not blocked. Your life total becomes 1, and thanks to his First Strike, he was the first of my creatures to come through. Now we go to regular combat, and now Kaalia is going to come in and finish the job and take you out of the game. So that's typically how that works. But you can always look up rulings. As a former mentor of mine once said, he's still alive, by the way. Don't sit there and go, oh my god, he's dead. No, he's alive. And this was at another job I was doing. He said, Google is your friend. So when in doubt, use Google and look up things. So now you have a quick rundown of tools and information you can use for your new card game that you're getting into. Welcome to the game. Any kind of questions or anything more in depth you want to know, drop a comment, share, subscribe, ring that bell, and let's kind of help the community grow. All of the places I went to today on these websites, none of them are a sponsor. Maybe one day they will be, but for right now they are not. It's just helpful information. And you've got all sorts of people online you can go to. You could go onto YouTube and type in just Commander content and just go. there's so many people that you can follow. I personally follow like 40 different YouTube channels. Um, the top ones are, of course, the Command Zone. They're the ones who really helped kick off Commander. Uh, they have so many different videos to choose from. When you're looking for products, there's well, I guess I'll be kind of like a little shout out thing to end the channel here. Um, there's the Command Zone for all sorts of Commander content, obviously. They talk about all sorts of things. There's the Professor. He does a lot of different videos, from like comedy sketches and stuff like that, to helpful information about what's going to be your best pick for a binder, a deck box, or a sleeve. He breaks down, is it worth it to buy certain things in sets, boxes, that kind of stuff. He goes over all sorts of different things about Magic. The Professor's really, really good. At Tolarian Community College is his YouTube channel. There's Elder Dragon Hijinks. They do a lot of Commander. Commander at Home. Split Second. The Spike Feeders. MTG Goldfish. I mean, there's just a list of people. There's MTG Mudsta. There's just so many people out there right now doing YouTube videos for actual Commander gameplay. I don't know if that's something I will get into, because there's already so much of it out there. I'm kind of just trying to give everybody information that they may or may not already know. So, like Moxfield, for instance, there's people that don't know Moxfield exists, and some people are okay with Architect. I personally like Moxfield. I think it's a wonderful way to find cards. It's a wonderful way to build decks, test them, and see if this is something you want to do before you actually go spend hard physical money on the cards. And you can actually play online through Moxfield here, and it'll help see more. Like you can deal another hand, you can play test the deck. So as you can see, we have everything here. So we could draw a card, we could view everything right here. So we can actually sit here and play through the deck online, and do what we like to call goldfish the deck, and see, okay, is this a deck I'm going to be happy with? Something going to be that it's going to be fun? Do I want to play this deck? And you could do that a few times and be sure it's what you want to do before you go spend the money, or start getting it piece by piece, however you want to do it. But on this channel, we're just going to try and go over some of the ins and outs of the game, from websites that you can use to how cards work, rulings, and who knows what else we'll do in this channel. But this is kind of a breakdown, this is kind of a quick crash course into the game, into Commander. There's a whole lot I didn't really get into in depth, but we will cover that in upcoming videos. So again, if this is helpful, if this is something you like, leave me a like, leave me a comment, and subscribe to the channel. Spread the word. Like I've said before, if you have questions about certain things you want more in depth about, whether it doesn't have to be anything too in depth. If you just want me to break down more about creatures and how they work, or what a permanent is, sorcery, instant, anything like that, leave me a comment. I'll read it. I'll plan a video, and we'll release a video more in depth. And I'll probably give you a shout out as I'm doing that. So if I give you a shout out and I ruin your name, I apologize in advance. Some names are quite difficult on the internet to read, as you probably have found out, being in the modern day era. But yeah, that's all I have for you today. So go check out some of those channels, some of those websites, get some information. Wizards of the Coast actually has a website that they have for YouTube as well. So you can always look that up if you're not into Commander. You can always look that up to get like information for Modern, Legacy, Vintage, Pioneer, Explorer, whatever you're trying to do. But yeah, there's just all sorts of things. I mean, you could even be very specific and type in, Like you can go on YouTube, for instance, and type in like top standard decks, top explorer decks, or if you're trying to find like, uh, for instance, a Crest the Bloodbraided deck to see how other people have played it in the past, you can always do that as well. So with that, I will leave you all to it, and off to the next video. Peace. Just remember, I am your Buddha Dragon, so rub that belly for mana.